So not surprising, or maybe surprising, I don't know, Senator Joe Manchin from West Virginia, a few weeks ago, you'll recall, voted to allow the $3.5 trillion stimulus plan to move forward, the reconciliation piece, okay? Now, this is not the $1 trillion one that they already passed. This is the bipartisan one that they already did, right? Where that's going to fix roads and bridges and all of that stuff, right? They already passed. That's done. It's not signed yet, done, completed, but he's on board with that. No, this is the one that's going to help you, okay? This is the one that's specifically going to help you. Child tax credits. This is going to help our elderly population. It's going to help young kids. It's going to help us negotiate lower prescription drug prices. Expansion of Medicaid. All of those things are in this additional $3.5 trillion, including possibly additional round of stimulus checks. All of that. So a few weeks ago, Joe Manchin supported and voted for allowing it to move forward for a vote because he was in support of it and says that he thinks it was good. He and Kyrsten Sinema. Oh, how a few weeks have suddenly changed because now Joe Manchin has now decided to call for a pause in the spending and says, no, let's not do this right now. In fact, he decided to write an opinion piece for the Wall Street Journal called Why I Won't Support Spending Another $3.5 Trillion.
Do they just reach out to these reporters and like, hey, can I write an article in your rag? Sure, sure, Senator. Because somebody else recently just did a op-ed in the Washington Journal or the
Washington Post. Yeah, Washington Post. Someone did an opinion piece. It was I forget who that was. It was on the Afghanistan withdrawal, wasn't it? Yeah. So you can just, you can run these things anytime you want, you know? So why I won't support spending another $3.5 trillion, he says, amid inflation, debt, and the inevitability of future crises, Congress needs to take a pause. This is the time for us to take a pause, by the way. Okay. The nation, as Manchin writes, the nation faces an unprecedented array of challenges and will inevitably encounter additional crises in the future. Yet some in Congress have a strange belief there is an infinite supply of money to deal with any current or future crisis, and that spending trillions upon trillions of dollars will have no negative consequences for the future. I disagree. So this is the hill that he's now going to die on. When we have a stimulus that's going to help you, and the spending goes to help you, this is his hill to die on now. An overheating economy has imposed a costly inflation tax on every middle and working class American. At 28 trillion and growing, the nation's debt has reached record levels. Over the past 18 months, we've spent more than 5 trillion responding to the coronavirus pandemic. Now,
It left out a little crucial point there that 5 trillion went to his buddies.
Exactly. Oh, he's going to leave that out, of course.
Where was his op-ed then?
Well, this is my biggest criticism of this, right? So now the 3.5 trillion piece you're upset about, but the bipartisan infrastructure package that you essentially helped negotiate with Republicans that's going to put roads and bridges with your name on it and give huge handouts to Wall Street, you're okay with that. You're okay with that. We're not talking about the roads and bridges stuff that's going to give these lucrative contracts to your buddies in Wall Street. We're not talking about that now, are we, Joe?
Can you do a search on that website and see where his op-ed is on the war budget and where his op-ed was on the CARES Act and where his op-ed was? Sure, let me do a Command
F. Let me do a Command F. So Command F, let's see, war. Oh no, it's just warranted. It found war, but it just found warranted. Okay, a pause is warranted, not war. Okay, let's see. Defense budget. Defense. Oh, it yields no returns, no response on defense.
So no op-eds on that.
No opinion pieces on spending money for defense budget. None of that. Another reason to pause, he writes, we must allow for complete reporting and analysis of the implications of a multi-trillion-dollar bill. What will it have on the next generation? Oh, you're concerned about the next generation suddenly? Suddenly you're worried about the next generation of Americans. You mentioned this. You mentioned the $28 trillion in debt, most of that going to our defense budgets. How did you give a rat's ass about the future of our country and the young generation then? No.
Did they label him an R or a D in that article? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, he's definitely a D bag. He's definitely a D. Those who believe such concerns are overstated should ask themselves, what do we do if the pandemic gets worse under the next viral mutation? What do we do if there's a financial crisis like the one that led to the Great Recession? What do we do if we faced a terrorist attack? Oh, there we go. Or a major international conflict. Well, what are we worried about that for? We spend $750 billion a year on defense. We leave tanks wherever we want around the world. You're really worried about what happens if we have a terrorist attack? Maybe if we didn't spend $2.3 trillion in Afghanistan and we actually spent money at home, we wouldn't have all of the violence that maybe we have at home. We wouldn't have the extreme poverty that we have in a lot of areas that leads to a lot of this violence. How will America respond if such crises, if we needlessly spend trillions of dollars today? I mean, I love that he literally sat down, and I'm sure that he did not write this. I'm sure that he told his speechwriter,
of course not,
to put something together.
I mean, if the thing is, like, anytime you hear any of these people speak articulately, like Biden, for instance, if you hear him off prompter, he can't finish a sentence. No, they don't write. Like, people give them credit for saying the things they say. They don't. They go into a room and they practice what somebody else wrote. President, this is really going to get people going. You got to read it exactly like this. So.
That's exactly right.
Nothing makes sense.
Thank you, Judge. You're right about that. He says, instead of rushing to spend trillions on new government programs and additional stimulus funding, Congress should hit a strategic pause on the budget reconciliation legislation. A pause is warranted, he says, because it will provide more clarity on the trajectory of the pandemic. What? What does that have to do with prescription drug prices? What does that have to do with student loan debt? What does that have to do with Medicare? So it'll provide more clarity? We have to pause and not have a stimulus because that'll provide more clarity on the trajectory of the pandemic. Hey, I got news for you. This $3.5 trillion stimulus package isn't really pandemic related. Frankly, has nothing to do with the pandemic.
Well, and did he say anything? Did he mention anything about the $83 billion in equipment and training we left over in Afghanistan? Like, that we could have, like, think about this. We could have put that stuff on eBay and right. Given what they sold it for to the people. In order to pay people's rent, understand, we need $17 billion. They left $83 billion worth of equipment over there, just like, just gonna leave this over here, but no mention of that. No mention of the wastefulness of the military. It's that we can't have debt. We as people can't have debt. We already have enough debt. What's another trillion?
No, he's never going to be concerned about that, of course, because he always votes for a war budget and defense budget that lines all of these defense contractors' pockets. But when it comes to a package that's going to help you, that's when we need to take that's when we need to take a pause. We need to take a pause. A strategic
Whenever it benefits
pause.
the people, we need to filibuster. We need to take a pause. We need to take a look at this because, the people are involved. We can't have them getting savings accounts. We can't have them benefiting from their own money. They gave it to us.
He's criticizing the price tag of healthcare, education, and the climate plan. And you wonder why? Why is he up against this? It's the climate piece of this. He doesn't want to. He also doesn't want to raise taxes on corporations. Because as we reported here the other day, you might be wondering, like, well, why? Is he just that cold-hearted? Well, yeah, but he's making money off of this, right? And as I reported yesterday or 2 days ago, corporate America has launched this massive lobbying blitz to kill key parts of the $3.5 trillion economic plan. Drug makers, big banks, tech giants are all preparing to fight the party's package, including its proposal for raising taxes.
Isn't it funny, too, that article labels him as centrist Democrat? Isn't it funny that centrist has become basically a far-right Republican?
Right. Yeah, he's a centrist. He might as well become a Republican. So all these corporate America is launching a blitz to try to kill this corporate bill or this bill for 3.5 trillion because it's going to upend the industry. We're going to start spending more on climate change and protecting our country and our future. We're also going to tax the wealthy. And is it any wonder why Joe Manchin is suddenly coming out against this? Why I won't support spending another 3.5 trillion. So what does this mean then? Is this dead in the water? Here's the Wall Street Journal saying Democrats are aiming to get the expansive other package on place, the $1 trillion infrastructure plan through. But Manchin says, instead of rushing to spend new government programs and additional stimulus funding, Congress should hit a strategic pause. So they can't really get through there without his help, right? They don't need 60 votes. They need 50. And if he doesn't put his money, they're going to need to remain united on this, as WSJ points out, in a 50-50 Senate. No Republicans support it. So if he backs out, and if Kyrsten Sinema also says that she doesn't support the current price tag, so what's going to happen here? I really think that this thing could die on the vine here. I mean, I don't know where we go from here. Unless this thing is like a watered down version, it ends up being like 1 trillion or 2 trillion or whatever. But, here you go.
Yeah, I knew this was going to happen. I mean, this is exactly what I knew. I'm just kind of surprised that it's Manchin again. I thought like they were going to throw us another bad guy, somebody that we hadn't heard of. Like they're going to pull some senator that we've never heard of. It still shocks me that every once in a while I'll see a senator talking. I'm like, where did this guy come from? I have never heard of this guy.
Unbelievable. So there you go, Joe Manchin. Thanks for once again screwing us over. Somebody earlier in the chat was like, I don't understand. Like, who in West Virginia supports this guy? I'll tell you who
does he not even walk around his own state?
It's the big money.
It is big money. But he's like in one of the most impoverished states in the United States.
Doesn't matter. He supports big coal. He makes money off the coal industry. You think he's going to support climate change legislation? You think he's going to support corporate tax increases? Frick, no. No way. Let the eagle soar like it never soared before. Joe Manchin.
I don't know. My favorite song is still
Real women vote for Trump. We don't need no liberal chump.
Real women vote for Trump. We don't need no liberal chump. Man, what is going on in this world? I swear to God.
It's crazy.
It is.
Like it is literally.
Nothing makes sense.
Exactly.
It is literally the definition of insanity. They keep, and the thing is, it's like the insanity is on our end. We keep voting these people in. We keep listening to them tell us they're going to do something different. We keep hoping and hoping and hoping, and they never do it. But we still continue to put our hope in them. They are not going to help us. So we need to just, forget about that. It's not going to happen. So what do we do from here?
John, I like John Marshall in our chat says rushing, like we're rushing into this. We're not rushing in anything. Like our whole infrastructure is crumbling. We're not. Good point, John. We're not rushing into anything. We have the worst. Yesterday I spoke to the CEO of Uprising Foods. They've been a sponsor on the show. I talked about their amazing bread. They're not a sponsor today or anything like that, but I had a chat with him yesterday. I just said, I love what you guys are doing. He's like, he goes, we're on a mission. He's like, in the United States, our food system is broken and is literally making people sick at scale. It is the worst food system in the world in the United States. We're not rushing into anything. We need to fix this stuff yesterday. We have trains that can't even go full speed because the tracks, they're falling apart. We have roads that are collapsing. I had a friend. I just found out this morning that we lost, thanks to the crappy infrastructure in New Jersey, sewage drains that don't drain properly, electrical wires that aren't put away properly. Every time the friggin' storm's there, the power goes out. So we lost a friend yesterday in this flooding. His son went to my son's school, and they were really close, Miles and his friend. It was his dad. He went out to check the storm drain in Maplewood, New Jersey, went out to check the storm drain and didn't come back. And imagine this little boy, my son's age, like just lost a dad. They found him the next day floating in the storm drain in the water. Like, this is America. We're not rushing into anything. Joe?
I mean, the pandemic did take its time getting here. It didn't rush in, so there was no hurry to help us. So, I mean, I get it. Like, they filibuster, they hem-haw around because it does make sense. I mean, they really got to watch out for that money because it's our money, and they're just really trying to be responsible with our money, except for when it comes to killing people, then they're not. But I like the fact that, when it comes to giving us money and healthcare and all that other stuff, they're very, responsible with our money. They're not just going to like waste it on people that don't deserve it. They're going to make sure people don't have a savings and everything, which they shouldn't. People in this country should not have a savings because why would people need to be prepared for their car to break down or anything? That's stupid.
Yeah, you can't get a stimulus. You can't get a $1,400 stimulus check and use $500 of it to pay your bills and then put the other, $500 or $1,200 or $600 or whatever in the bank and invest it for your future. God,
right,
no.
Yeah, because all you people did by putting that money in your savings is screwed the other people that now can't get as much because they're afraid that you're going to save more. So thank you to all of you people that saved some of that money. And yes, I am being sarcastic, but it really pisses me off that these people, they sit there and they get wealthy in Congress. We pay them every single month. We give them a furniture budget, and they sit there and don't do squat for us. They just take care of their donors, and they take care of the military industrial complex, and that is it. So if it doesn't benefit their buddies, their donors, if it doesn't benefit the military, they don't do it. And we keep hoping that they will help us, and they give us little bits and pieces here and there to keep us quiet and keep us waiting for more, but we're not getting more.
No, we're not getting more. We get scraps. We're not the greatest country in the world. Stop saying that. Stop saying it. It's making, it's beyond now. It's just a joke, right? Stop saying that. Stop saying that. And, people like this literally can spend billions of dollars rushing into any war, any conflict around the world that we want to, whether it's Somalia, Yemen, Iraq, Afghanistan, God knows where. Like, I don't even know all the places that we're invading lately. We can spend all that money, but we can't take care of the people. Thanks, Joe Manchin. By the way, how many of you are watching from West Virginia today? If you're in West Virginia, this is how you make change. I mean, you got to throw these guys out. These guys have to be thrown out. If we can remove this money out of our political system, put people in place who are not bought and sold by these lobbyists, by these corporations, this country is going down the toilet fast.
Well, and isn't Manchin, this is his last term, right? He's not going to go for re-election. Didn't I read that, or didn't you? We talk about that?
Well, I've talked about that. We don't know yet whether or not he's going to seek re-election. We don't know. I think with all this power that he has over the past year, I mean, clearly it's going to his head. So who is he going to want to leave? These aren't the kind of guys that leave.
No, they're
by the way,
careerists.
he can write a whole opinion piece in the Wall Street Journal like this. Like he snaps his fingers and Wall Street Journal prints an entire article for him. They even had a graphic artist make this, Like,
is that one of Bush's paintings?
Oh, Frederick Lasorda says, "Oh, BS. I'm so close to $50,000 in debt right now because I haven't worked since this crap started. My credit is so bad they won't accept cash. Screw Manchin. He needs to be sent to Gitmo." I like that.
Well, that's the thing. Until we get money out of the game, the thing that we would have to do is we would have to get money out of politics. Lobbying would be illegal. Like, they could not have lobbyists. Get money out of it. No super PACs or anything like that. And then you're going to get people that aren't incentivized to get into these positions. You have people that know full well when they go in there that they can write their own paycheck and get in there and then get out and go be a lobbyist, make a lot of money, go work for Bears and Stern. I don't think they're around anymore, but Goldman Sachs. They go do speeches. Like, these guys, they become multimillionaires while they are in there. I think Joe Manchin started a company or something and made like 20 million or something that his daughter got or something. Like, the crazy amounts of money that these people make over the $15,000 a month we give them, every one of them, plus their annual $30,000 furniture budget. We give them plenty of money to live on, but they go in there because they know there's an incentive to get these bills out so that they make money.
Yeah, they'll enrich themselves, of course. I mean, you don't take these jobs because you want to help people. I mean, there's very few of these members of Congress that do it.
Right. And if you got money out of it, if you took money out of the equation, you would get people that were there to help people, because these narcissists that are there to make money, they wouldn't want to do it anymore. They'd find something else. They'd go be corporate execs or something.
Well, and that's the thing. Back in the day in the United States, you didn't spend time in Washington. You were there for a period, and you'd go back to your farms. You'd go back home and live there. Now it's a career, and now K Street with all the lobbying firms, and it's a permanent infrastructure of money.
Yeah. So how often are these people even around their constituents? And the thing is, if you are, let's say you're an independent journalist and you're one of their constituents, and you walk up and you start asking them hard questions about things that they're doing, they make you look like you're crazy. They make you look like a conspiracy theorist. They blow you off, and they won't answer your questions.
Like, Senator, why are you supporting this endless war? They just sort of smile and walk by. Like, Senator, why do you want us to go back into Afghanistan? Why are we still spending billions of dollars in Iraq? And, who's that guy over there? We got to go. All right, no more questions. We got to get. Yeah. And I'll tell you why. It makes us safer. Thanks, buddy. Thanks, everyone. We got to go.
Yeah.
America, do you feel safer because we're invading Iraq?
Absolutely zero accountability. The media doesn't hold them accountable. No one holds them accountable. So behind closed doors, they're making deals with lobbyists. They're making all of this money. They're making stock purchases and everything that they have to disclose. As long as they disclose them, it's okay. And they're getting rich while we're suffering, and nobody holds them accountable for anything.
And so even the Wall Street Journal, like at the bottom of this piece that they published sort of in response to his article, like they wrote their own news article around his article in their own newspaper, okay? And at the bottom of it, they say, Mr. Manchin's, they sum it up nicely with a little bow. Mr. Manchin's opinion article suggests that the government's fiscal capacity be reserved for future potential crises rather than new programs today. So to be clear, future pandemics, that's what we should we should use, not spend the money now. So future pandemics.
Not on the current one?
Not on the current one. Future pandemics, future wars, future terrorist attacks. That's the argument that basically he makes in this article. So not the fact that America's crumbling, that Americans pay 10 times the amount for prescription drugs in this country, that Americans don't have good health care, that Americans are the sickest, unhealthiest, fattest country in the world with the worst food system in the world. Everything we eat has sugar in it because of the sugar lobby in the corn starch or the corn syrup lobby. But no, we don't need that. Screw the 12 million kids that didn't have internet access during a pandemic to go online and get internet. Screw that. Forget it. Forget that part of it. Just screw it.
Well, and I see people saying that. I see people saying that getting money out of politics and then term limits would help. But I personally don't agree with term limits, because I believe term limits is just a way for us to be like, we're too lazy to look into people. Because the thing is, like, what I feel like term limits could do potentially is, let's say you do get somebody that's in there and they're working their butt off and they really are for the people, and then that person is limited and you're going to get them out when they don't deserve to be out because they are legitimately there to help people. So that person, okay, we got one in that's good for the people. Now let's move on to the next one. Because if you think about term limits, they'd constantly be in election cycles. We'd constantly be hearing from new people, having to vet these people all the time. And I just feel like it could thwart, keeping good people or make it so you keep good people out. So I personally don't agree with term limits.
Yeah, it's a good argument. I mean, Joe Lieberman wrote a book a number of years ago that I read, Senator Lieberman, called In Praise of Public Service, and he's against term limits also. His argument in the book is that, if you get somebody good in there and they've made those relationships and they understand how to govern and they why term limit them out? To me at the time, it was like that was an argument for like keeping your job. I was like, okay. I think it's a good argument, but I think more often than not, it ends up helping us get rid of the bad seeds.
Well, it does in a world where we don't pay attention to what people are doing. The thing is, like, so if you got money out of politics and you had people that were actually going there to help people, I think this would be a non-factor. I think
the money is the issue.
Yeah. If you have money in politics, then yes, I would agree with term limits. But you take the money out and you make it so that people that are not going in there to benefit themselves, that are going there to help people, then I think term limits don't make sense.
See, Amy Perkins sent a super chat. She said, "Could you read my super chats? It's about this exact subject." Let me see where it is here.
Amy Perkins. Here it is. I truly believe every person in government should have to live on the wage of their constituents for at least 6 months before being allowed in office. The only thing is, like, those wages are so different. Like,
yeah, what
like whose
you'd have
wage?
to. I think it'd have to be.
A
You'd
median
have to find
salary,
like like a median salary or something like that. It's
Yeah.
crazy. They'd never do it. That's just the sad part, is that there's so much money in politics that who's going to want to be a politician if there's no money in it?
Right.
It's very, very. But that's not. I shouldn't say that. There are a lot of people that want to be social workers to help other people, and there's no money in social work. So there's a lot of good. There's a lot of good people out there. So I take that back.
I mean, if I honestly thought that I wasn't walking into a completely messed up system like politics, I actually would probably do it. I probably would do it because I actually would want to help people. Like, I would go there. I would do like Ron Paul. Ron Paul, when they removed the gold standard, he went there because he knew that was the end of our economy. He knew that. And so he went there with a mission to fight that. And that's the same thing. I would go there to figure out how to make a better government. And I honestly feel like if you could get money out of it, you could get lobbyists out of it, you actually could create that system.
I wanted to run for the Senate a number of years ago when that was my dream, to be in politics, to run and to do that. And then I went I went in a different direction. Maybe I guess commenting on it and trying to educate people about the process rather than trying to do that. I remember I interviewed one time at the History Channel for a job, and they said, ultimately, what do you want to do someday? And I said, ultimately, I'd love to run for the Senate. And they said, well, I don't think then that you'd be happy here. And I was like, damn it, why did I say that? So I didn't get that History Channel job.
It's funny, when I was talking to Ron Paul, and I said, I'm thinking about getting into politics like you, and he said, don't do it. He said, what you want to do is become media.
Yeah. And that's what he does now. He started his channel, and you're because we can have such a large audience to spread this message and try to make that change in that way. So that's what I'm trying to do here. Amy says that's the point. It would weed out the bad ones. Yeah, I think if you lower that salary, get and keep it small, and like I said with the social work analogy that I just said, so many good people out there who do social work jobs and other things like that aren't going to make a lot of money. They want to just help people. So I think we could do that.
Like Grimm said, make them live on military pay scale and stuff. But the thing is, like, that if with the lobbyists and stuff, they still can get in there and grease their palms.
Yeah.
It's just such a corrupt system. I mean, like, the thing is, like, I would be fine with them making what they make if they were doing the right thing. If that's all they made, like, they shouldn't be able to invest in stocks. They shouldn't be able to take lobby money. They shouldn't be able to enrich themselves in any way over their salary, which is a decent salary. That's $15,000 a month we give them, each of them, minimum,
and the best healthcare.
Yeah. And that's the thing. They get benefits that we don't get. Like, they should get, like, if we should have the exact same benefits. So it should be the people and Congress and Senate. We get the same exact benefits as far as healthcare and stuff. And then they would fight for universal healthcare because they want it.
Right. Right. And I think to Grimm's point, like giving them a military budget, the military, they're taken care of in large part. I mean, they, obviously get VA loans, they can have access to the healthcare system. They end up, if they stay long enough, get pensions for the rest of their life. So I even think that's being too generous to these politicians. So I don't know. Let us know what you think about this in the chat below. We got more news to get to here. We're going to talk about this unemployment data here in a moment, and these unemployment benefits, which are drying up for many of you. Let me know in the chat, how many of you right now are still, dealing with unemployment benefits, waiting on it, or watching those dry up, or had relied on those and now you don't have them anymore. Let me know. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. You can also become a channel member by going to morninginvest.com/join, where you can stick it to the mainstream media and support independent journalism. We're able to bring you the stories that you won't see on any of the major billionaire-backed networks. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time, everyone.